So I did a lot of research before buying this treadmill, and then I did 2 months of testing before doing this review because of some of the negative reviews I read before buying this. But having used this a lot for the past 2 months, I really like the way this treadmill works. It's quiet, compact, and fairly powerful. I think I know what causes some of the issues people had and how to avoid them. But let's take it from the start. The treadmill arrived very well packaged and all the important parts were protected by foam, and it had no shipping damage. Taped to the top, you will find the power cord, manual, oil, Allen wrench, and battery. The easiest way I found to get it out of the bag was to stand it up and just lift the bag over the top. This is how I found that this treadmill can stand on its own, but it's pretty wobbly and I wouldn't trust it unless it was leaning up against the wall. And here's how I also found the biggest and honestly the only gripe I have with this treadmill. With the handles folded, there's no way to secure them in the down position. So when you're moving the treadmill on its wheels, you're naturally tempted to use the handles to steer it. But the handles just start to open, so you have to either use this metal bar underneath or the roller on the treadmill to move it. This is not a major issue for me by any means, but definitely something to be aware of. The rest of the setup was pretty simple. The remote fits neatly into this little holder, but it does not clip in, so if you store the treadmill vertically, it will fall out. So at this point, you can connect it and test it to make sure everything works. To do this, all you have to do is connect the power, flip the switch underneath, and lift up the bar, and then secure it with these two latches on either side. Then press the start button, and you can play with the speeds and the settings, but I don't recommend using it for long yet. Because here's the first possible reason for people's negative reviews on this treadmill. In the manual, it says you need a little bit of oil under the belt for it to run properly. And it does look like they did add a little bit of oil during production, but it doesn't look like it was enough. So I recommend adding oil before you start using it. It's actually a pretty simple process. You power off the treadmill, then you take the provided Allen wrench to the back of the treadmill, and there's 2 openings with 2 screws that you need to loosen. Make sure you count how many rotations you do for each. Loosen it enough so you can slide your hand under the belt. Then take the provided oil from the packaging and make sure you open the seal under the lid. Cut a little bit off the top of the spout, and then take the oil and add a line of oil across the treadmill closer to the top under the belt. This is the most important area to keep well lubricated because this is where your feet make contact the most. Then, tighten the 2 screws on the back of the treadmill the same amount of times you used to loosen them. After that is done, power on the treadmill and walk for a couple minutes to use the belt to spread the oil down the rest of the length of the treadmill. I did this when I first got it, and despite weighing 245 pounds, which is pretty close to the max this treadmill can handle, I have not had any issues with overheating or burning smells. So as to what I think about it after using it for 2 months, well, the treadmill is very maneuverable on its wheels. It's easy to get from one room to another if necessary. It looks sleek and the display is easy to read. It sets up in seconds even if you have to constantly be moving it from one room to another. I can set it up in front of my TV and enjoy a show while I get a workout. It's rather quiet when set to walking speed, and here's what it sounds like walking. And here's what it sounds like fast walking. And here's what it sounds like full-on running. Which was honestly surprising to me that it's so small, yet it's powerful enough that it can handle a full run. When using it hard like that though, you have to make sure that the motor can get good airflow. As you can see, most of the cooling vents are under the treadmill. So if you use this on a high carpet, it would block some of the vents, so I recommend getting something placed underneath the vents to keep them clear if you're using it on thick carpet. But all in all, I think this is a great treadmill, and when you take into account how small and light it is, coming in at about 50 pounds, and its ability to be used as a walking pad under a standing desk, or as an actual treadmill, it's great. And when you take into account how little room it takes up when not in use, I store it up against the wall so it basically takes up no space, I do not regret purchasing it.